Kלים Perik Base Mishnah Hay. Kisui Kadei Yain v'Kadei Shemen. Lids, coverings of barrels of wine and oil. If they're made out of cheres, then even though they have a base kibble, we learnt before that kolam hashamish kofui, anything which is used upside down, although it's got a toich, and even though it may be that actually food gets placed into the toich, but because it's an upside down type of kibble, we learn that from a posuk, that's not called a kibble, a base kibble, a toich, and therefore the lids are toirin. But the Mishnah carries on with the words kisui chovius neyoros toirin. Now there are three pshatim in the words kisui chovius neyoros. The simple one is the girsa that we have neyoros, and then it's kisui, the lid of chovius from a place called neyor, and they're very similar to the ratio of kadei yain v'kadei shemen. And again, it's upside down, and therefore it's not considered to be a toich, and the kisuyim are toirin. But there's another girsa which most Rishonim have. After the words kisui chovius, which is a din on its own, similar to kadei yain v'kadei shemen, they put uneyoros with an avov, and neyoros therefore are something separate. The Rash learns that neyoros actually is a lid for a chovius made out of parchment, soft leather. The din is that leather has the same din as a kli eitz. It's got to be osel kibble. Soft leather, we know from a Tosas in Shabbos, is deemed to be called roy kibble, even though it hasn't actually got a kibble, because it can easily be folded and shaped into a base kibble, used as a little pouch. But because these pieces of leather are being used, again, in an upside down fashion, as a kisui, the same rule applies for kli eitz and kli cheres, that if it's and kli ored, if it's kofui upside down, it's not called a kibble. There's another pshat. Neyoros means literally in the normal sense of the word, it means paper. And of course a piece of paper is tar, paper used to cover something. And here the Mefarshim ask, even if it's not used to cover something, a piece of paper is not makabel tumah, because a piece of paper is made from eitz, but it still hasn't got a kibble. Therefore, even if it is a kli, it's a pshutik kli eitz, therefore it would be Torah anyway. So this is something that Tosas Yom Tov picks up and doesn't understand the girsa, the pshat that neyoros should be simple paper. However, I would refer you to a note to be Yehuda, Madura Tinyana, Yeridea Simon Kufhei, where he discusses paper being mikabel tumah or not, and he makes a difference between paper which is made from wood, which isn't mikabel tumah, or paper made from begodim, beluye begodim, where it could be mikabel tumah because of the din of begodim, which we'll deal with Mitzvah Shem later on in the Masechta. Says the Mishnah, these lids are Torah, but the miskino, the tashmish, if you actually change them and you masaken them, for tashmish to be used the other way, that they can be mikabel in the normal way, then tameim. This is skinoi. Very often the word skinoi means you actually make some sort of masa to change it. But because here we're going lechumra, we're going from something which is Torah to something which is tomei, even if you just did it b'machshava, that would be enough to change the kli cheres from a kli cheres kofui to a kli cheres which has got a toich, and therefore we don't need a masa, machshava is enough. And the Mishnah carries on. Kisei alapas. Alapas is a word for an alphas, it's a big cauldron. The lid of this cauldron has got quite a big base kibble, but sometimes one turns it upside down after cooking and puts things in it. Says the Mishnah, Bizmanshu nokuv v'yesh lo chidud tor. If the lid has either, this vav v'yesh lo chidud has to be read as oi, if it either has a hole in it, so therefore you can't use it to pour soup into it because it'll leak, or v'yesh lo chidud, it has a sharp point, which means it cannot balance and will topple. In both those cases, in either of those cases, tar, the kli cheres is tar. However, if it's got two conditions fulfilled, im eina nokuv, if it's got no hole, and ve'eino chidud, and it won't topple, it sits properly, then it's tomei, because because the woman, the cook, sometimes uses the lid not in the kofui position, the upside down position. She uses the lid to strain off liquid from the vegetables or the meat, and therefore it's a normal kli cheres with a toich used for kibble. Rabbi Tzadok Omer, the reason isn't because she strains liquid off. The reason why he doesn't like the Tanakama's reason is because that liquid which you're straining off is just going to be chucked. It's going to be thrown away, and therefore the klicheres is not deemed to be a toich. Also lekabel, because you're going to actually throw away the thing that you're being makabel. He says the reason is, or the lid is only going to be makabel toma if also mepanishu feches alovas harunki. Harunki is the mass, the mass of cooked vegetables, and sometimes the woman will take this mass of vegetables, put them in the lid, turn them over, beat them, crush them, whatever she needs to do, but then she's actually using the klicheres for the vegetables itself as a toich, as a kibble, and therefore in such a case the lid will be makabel toma.